All right, let's dive in, shall we? Today we're tackling something I know a lot of us think about. Eating healthy without, spending a fortune.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
We've got some excerpts here from a guide that's all about eating healthy on a budget.
Awesome.
And I think you might be surprised by some of the tips in here.
Definitely some myth busting to be done. People assume healthy eating has to be like super expensive.
Oh, I know. It's like, I got to get all this fancy organics.
Exactly. But this guide really challenges that assumption.
Yeah, and one thing that jumped out at me right away was this whole thing about using frozen fruits and veggies.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'll admit, I've always been a little bit about frozen stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
But, this guide makes a really good case for it.
Well, I think a lot of us grew up thinking, fresh is always best, right?
Totally.
But then you learn about flash freezing and how they pick the produce at peak ripeness and freeze it so fast it actually locks in those nutrients. And let's be real, how often does that fresh produce actually end up, rotting in our fridge?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And then you feel so bad.
Right, it's such a waste. So using frozen, it's kind of like a double win. You save money and you cut down on that food waste.
It's true. That makes so much sense.
And think about it, those frozen berries in the middle of winter, they might actually have more nutrients than those sad out-of-season strawberries at the grocery store.
Okay, yeah, I never thought about it like that.
It's true.
It really makes you rethink things, huh?
Totally.
Now, another thing this guide hits hard is meal planning.
Oh, absolutely essential. If you want to eat healthy on a budget, that's got to be your foundation.
For sure. Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be complicated, Even just having a rough idea of what you're going to eat during the week can be huge.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because if you have a plan, you're way less likely to just, grab whatever at the store,
Those impulse buys, they really get you.
Oh, they kill a budget. So having a plan is it's like having a roadmap for your grocery shopping.
A roadmap, I like that. Keeps you on track. Avoids those temptations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, if you're not scrambling to figure out dinner every night, you're way less likely to just order takeout.
Oh, yeah. Takeout's a slippery slope.
The ultimate budget buster.
So what about these, all these meal planning apps out there? Are they worth it?
I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you're really into tech and love having everything on your phone, then yeah, an app could be awesome.
Sure.
But if you're, someone who needs to see everything laid out visually, then maybe a physical planner or even a whiteboard on the fridge is better.
Right. So it's really finding what works for you.
Exactly. It's got to be a system you'll actually use.
For sure. No point in a fancy app if it's just going to sit there.
Right. Exactly.
Now, the guide also talks a lot about cooking at home more often.
Oh, yeah, and for good reason. It's one of the most effective ways to save money and, control what you're eating.
Right, you're in control of the ingredients and all that.
Totally. Restaurant meals, they're notorious for being loaded with sodium, unhealthy fats, tons of calories.
Yeah, and not to mention the cost.
Right. Eating out all the time can really drain your bank account.
It's true. I love going out to eat, but I know for a fact that both my wallet and my waistline are happier when I'm cooking at home most of the time.
Yeah, I think most of us can relate to that.
Do you have any tips, for making cooking at home a little more appealing? Because let's face it, sometimes it can feel like a chore.
Definitely. One thing that helps me is batch cooking on the weekends.
Oh, like meal prep.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make a big pot of soup, a batch of quinoa, or roast a bunch of veggies that I can then just throw into meals during the week.
Smart. So you're not starting from scratch every night.
Right. It saves so much time and energy, especially on those busy weeknights.
I love that idea.
And another tip is, find a few go-to recipes that you genuinely enjoy and that are easy to make.
Yeah, having those in your back pocket is key.
Totally. Having those recipes can make weeknight cooking feel way less overwhelming.
Yeah, and there's no shortage of resources out there these days. Between cookbooks and websites, you can find tons of healthy, budget-friendly recipes.
Oh, absolutely. And you can even find those meal prep guides that lay out exactly what to buy and how to prepare everything for the week.
Yeah, they make it so easy.
Exactly. And the more you cook at home, the more confident you'll become in the kitchen.
Right. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. You might even discover a passion for cooking that you didn't even know you had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So to kind of sum up what we've learned from this guide, frozen produce can actually be a super budget-friendly and healthy option.
Right.
Meal planning is super key to staying on track and sticking to a budget.
Definitely.
And cooking at home more often, well, it's a win-win for both your wallet and your health.
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing to remember is that, eating healthy on a budget, it's a journey.
Not a destination.
Exactly. It's about making those small changes over time that you can actually stick with.
Yeah. Find what works for you.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect,
Totally. It's about progress.
Yes.
So, as you're thinking about all this, I want you to consider, how can you take these tips and actually make them work in your own life?
Right. Like, what feels doable for you?
Exactly. What small changes can you start making today to, start building a healthier and, maybe more affordable relationship with food?
Great question to think about.
For sure.
And that makes me wonder, we've been talking about practical stuff, but what about that emotional side of food?
Oh, interesting.
Like, how can we cultivate a positive and, more mindful relationship with food no matter what our budget is? Something to ponder.
That's a really good point. Definitely something to think about.
For sure.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive for today.
Sounds good.
But keep those thoughts going. There's always more to explore.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time.